The last few months, I've never seen you so busy and dedicated to something. Every The entire time I've known you,
I've
you are like a bloodhound, and you're not going to stop until you get to your destination. And it's been a hell of a ride that I've seen that you've gone through. So, for those who do not know, what in the world's going on with your investigation?
what's going on with the investigation. Started
Yeah.
out to started out with me finding that there was too much common some newcomers into UFO Twitter last year into the fall when David Grush would come up and tweets and such that new people in the community had the same talking points, and a lot of them were disparaging. And I was wondering where they're all getting their central source of information from. I went and looked at the Wikipedia page uh, on him, on David Grush. They wouldn't even give him the decency to give him his own biography of living persons page, which I need to make a note of that because they title it to focus on his claims that he reported to Congress and the IG, not about him himself, because Lucky Louie and them stated that his people are interested in his assertions, not him as a person, so he doesn't deserve a page. I guess you have to be a J.C. Penney's photographer or something to get your own fluff page on Wikipedia. One of our the most senior intelligence officer to ever, be a whistleblower, doesn't rate his own page, just his assertions, and only how the skeptics want those portrayed for the public consumption, which is what I found on Twitter was reflected in Wikipedia by these pseudo skeptic editors that control the entire UFO topic. Found out that they're affiliated with the formal group of guerrilla skeptics of Wikipedia, led by Susan Gerbic, not to be confused with the other PSYOP queen, Susan Go, from the Pentagon. And the CSI, Committee for Skeptical Inquiry, is a subsidiary of Committee for Inquiry out of New York that is a very large, multi-million dollar 501 that promotes secular theism and their brand of what they believe are science. They're also anti-theist, so they are activists against any theology. So any religion, Judeo-Christianity, Islam, it doesn't matter. They have global affiliations and they pay people to be bloggers and editors, and they even have a relocation program for when one of their one of their people gets persecuted because they've gone too hard. Say, like, they criticize Allah or something, and yeah, and then they get death threats, and then they cry wolf, and then they have to be relocated. So it's you don't see Christians going after atheists, and basically like what Neil deGrasse Tyson's page states on Wikipedia, they believe that anyone that is credulous enough to believe in a deity or aliens or any kind of life that is not, sentient life is not human, that they are not responsible enough to be making decisions in politics and government, and that it's been a huge setback for science that we have scientists that believe that bunk of intelligent design, or that that we didn't come from a flash of lightning, that created life, 5 billion years ago. Interestingly, we find that Gary Nolan even has made designs that he's seeing that there's intelligent design. The further down he looks, the more it looks like it was not randomly created. So he's seeing there's some kind of source code being written by some kind of sentient intelligence. So they at this point they are rejecting anything that goes against their dogma of science or anti-religion, which it's become a religion in itself because they're not open to any new information. They will not concede anything. They won't even concede that the government is officially studying and investigating the possibility that there's other sentient life in contact with Earth, or humans in any capacity. That there's life out there, like SETI says, but it's way out there, and it's probably microbiological. There's no chance that they're sentient like us, we're a fluke out of trillions and trillions of solar systems. We're the only ones that statistically, barring the Drake equation, we're it. So how narcissistic that's almost like the creation science of believing that God only created one, an omnipotent God with omnipotent age, that we're the only life he ever created, the only time on the only planet. And out of all this vast everything, that goes against church doctrine even, to contain God, that he's not capable of creating more than just us. So this doesn't go against organized religion and things. I think it accentuates it, and it shows more so how there's an intelligent designer, which I believe in God, that created. Some people call it source. That's an individual decision and belief for somebody, because you can't prove it with the information we have. We have to take it on faith. That's why it's called faith, not fact. So that's where it's at. But they believe their beliefs, which they can't prove. There's no supernatural, that there's no other sentient life in communication with us, or that we found evidence of, or ghosts. They don't believe that a soul exists, and at death you're worm dirt. That's it. In the story.
Right.
We're just a fluke of natural, non-organic, a flash in the pan, and we'll be gone soon enough, and then we'll be back to the natural order that everything's just dust, that there isn't organic life, because all this flora and fauna, it was just an accident. Never mind they came and create a single celled microbe or organism, artificially out of inorganic material. Still can't do that. So yeah, and when people like Susan Gerbic, they go back and they believe all the scientists and people that are higher up in the organization, like Mick West, people like that they must know what they're talking about. So they trust them on the science aspects, that it's all settled. And a lot of laymen mistakenly think that science theories are science fact. Most of science is not settled. They get the best working model theory that they can go with, and then they set about to see if they can disprove it. Actual skepticism is a valuable instrument in the scientific process. But what we have with the pseudo-skeptics, they reject anything that goes against their dogma, and they won't even entertain an argument that is set against their posits. And they're basically, I keep coming back to that word dogma, they're scriptures. They write what they believe, and you can't get outside the narrative, if you want to be part of their organization. And they feel like people in government that believe in God are not responsible to make their own decisions, and they should not be in power. Scientists have been hindered because, as far as they believe, because if they believe in, say, aliens or extraterrestrials or God forbid that somebody believes in aliens and God, that they're really a heretic.
Yeah.
And not be in any positions of power or government or teaching, that they need ostracized. And that's their goal, is to spread this around the planet and remove people from positions of power in government, and to try and abolish religions, not just out of government, but get rid of them completely. And they are tantamount to totalitarianism, where 100 years ago they would be burning books in the village square, but instead they're on the internet trolling all these different places, trying to manipulate the available data for the general public. And that's the biggest problem I found with Wikipedia, is that most people have the assumption that there's some semblance of quality control, and that they try to not be biased and strive for accuracy, that there must be some kind of checks and balances, or else Google would not be utilizing them as the number one resource for information. And they've partnered up with YouTube that are pulling data from them now. And we've even found a reference in the new Pentagon report that they referenced fandom Wikipedia page for, doesn't matter which one, but basically the UFO report sourced a Wikipedia page for like Project Sign, I believe it was. And when I went and looked at that source, it was through Wendy. When I traced the source back from the Pentagon report to Wikipedia, it goes back. Their reference for the Wikipedia article goes back to audio recordings of what is her name here? Wendy Connors for her faded disc highs with materials sourced from libraries and private collections like those of the Center for UFO Studies. Basically, like pulling from MUFON, things like that. But these audio tapes and recordings are decades old, and they don't have references. They don't have you can't fact check them. So basically, what we have in the Pentagon report is a unreliable source, and even by Wikipedia standards, what they have put into that page is not a reliable source. They can't use a blog, recorded audio files from a UFO channel that tells ghost stories and alien stories. That's their source.
We need to call Shenanigans on this, right?
Yeah, they're gonna have to change. They're gonna fix that. That's a big no-no. And the interesting thing with it's Project Sign on Wikipedia, and I found 4 editors on there that are affiliated with the Guerrilla Skeptics. So they have the Pentagon report has sourced a Guerrilla Skeptic Wikipedia page that is sourced to an audio blog. Ain't that the shit? So yeah, they're violating their own rules, but as long as it plays in their favor, they don't care, because they also edit and create rules. If you don't like their rules, tough luck. They actually, I have found where they get things labeled as pseudoscience, bunk, or sensationalism, which it does. If it's sensational, it doesn't by default make it untrue, but they think it is.
Right.
So they look at as one of their tools is contentious topics. If there's an interest in the page and there's any controversy whatsoever, then they slap a contentious topic on that page, and then they have executive control over each page.
Right.
Because they try and they can take over a page, and anytime a rogue editor tries to make an edit they don't agree with, if you do it 3 times, then they will ban you from the platform. So they eliminate competition that way.
Right.
And they do this all the time. And I can't prove it, but I would dare say that they probably have some new accounts here and there if they want to get a page protected. That they say, if I were one of the Guerrilla Skeptic editors, I would have a puppet account to come in and attack the page, do a 3 revert edit on it,
it's
declare
retengency.
Yeah, declare vandalism, and then they ask for protection, and then they get the page locked down where only the editors that have the majority get to control the page from there forward. And they have over 5,500 pages now on their Project Skepticism. That's the acknowledged pages that they have. I found some of their senior editors are editing, like Donald Trump's Wikipedia page. They're editing back in the Russia collusion hoax as it were fact again, which is not, and it's already been disproven. But like I said, they're also rejecting people that try to edit into any UFO article that the government has legitimized research and has destigmatized the topic in recent years. And there have been editors that have tried to argue that point, that the pseudoscience label needs to come off of it, and they won't do it because they cite that they go with what the mainstream consensus is, and they don't go by empirical fact unless it's mainstream consensus. But if they don't have mainstream consensus, they have their fellows kick up their articles. I found instances like where Susan Gerbic is requesting more articles to be written on a certain topic so they can get the majority consensus to put in there. And another beautiful little tactic, they determine what is a reliable source and what's not. If they find a particular news outlet or journalist ever did a UFO story and indicated with any degree that they believed it, then they are labeled as a credulous peddler of pseudoscience and bunk. And then from there on, they don't have to consider them as a reliable source, like the Debrief, Schellenberger, Merrick, Daily Mail, News Nation. They're all not unreliable sources according to the Guerrilla Skeptics. So it's a huge
Are they going to ban themselves?
Well, they've been through this many times of people. Wikipedia is not supposed to say, like, I tried to edit Wikipedia in November, and I quickly, I tried to address this with, I went by the rules, I read them, and I took it to a village pump, and I tried to have a conversation with hopefully neutral admin, and instead they brought in senior admin that were among the skeptic group, and they blocked me from editing. Said I'm obviously not there to write an encyclopedia, and I was trying to help them clean it up, not them, the skeptics, because they don't want it cleaned up. But I saw a violation of the rules, and what I've come to learn after that is that like I said, they write the rules, and they have been brought to admin committees of reports before. Say, I tried to send I can only edit my talk page, so I tried to contact another editor that got topic banned from UFOs for arguing with the skeptics. So I just tried to reach out to him and start a conversation, and they told me I was canvassing. You can't recruit another editor to try and edit a page with you that has consensus with your opinion, because that's against the rules, except that the Guerrilla Skeptics have over 150 acknowledged members on Wikipedia, and Jimmy Wales, one of the co-founders, knows that they exist, and he endorses them because, in his words, they help rid the platform of lunatic charlatans. And lunatic charlatans is also a definition that the skeptics have written and expanded on many times over the years. So all this is queryable, and if you know how to search it, you can find it. And it is very ugly, it's very deep, and it's been there for since probably from the inception. I found skeptics going back to 2003 on the platform. So
yeah, Rob, I have a question for you.
The dirt runs way deep. Yeah.
Okay, it's almost as if the Guerrilla Skeptics have almost like a playbook on how to respond to certain things, and you can almost tell by the wording. Would that be true and accurate?
Yeah, Susan Gerbic, she has the Secret Cabal is the name of the group on Facebook that she has, where they train editors how to edit and basically everything, all this, and they hold skeptic camp and workshops and all that. They wouldn't be as organized as they are without guidebooks and guidelines and rules and things, so that way they can, when they find something that works, they stick with it. Why reinvent the wheel? So I'm sure that they have guides on all of this to help editors.
Yeah, they got handouts
on top of it, and with the narrative.
Yeah, they got handouts. Yeah, when you go to these skeptic conventions, they once you're in the cabal or part of the group, of course, getting the green light through Susan, it's almost like as soon as you're accepted, I bet they have like this printout, right? It's all nice and stapled, and they have all the wording responses in it. Guaranteed they have that.
Well, you're joining a club, and they have rank and file structure. I even saw once where they had badges that they issued people on Wikipedia, and you have to have a way to recognize each other and recognize each other's rank in this organization. So they do have a rank and file, and they have reward systems, kind of like very disturbing. I found where a lot of their structure was mirrored off of an article I found that Lucky Louie, it was Mick West, wrote in his own name in 2005 or 6, where he edited in a huge apologetics for Nazi youth. Well, it was basically almost glamorizing it, and even stating how the ones that were inducted after 1939 were accused of war crimes because they were below the age of consent. So, what he edited in didn't say anything about the atrocities that they committed, even though they weren't brought to the world court. Doesn't mean that it was excusable for being wholesale murderers of innocent people.
Right.
They're hypocrites. So
yeah, I wanted to ask you, when you're telling me this, they have this rank and file type thing. The first thing that popped in my mind is this is kind of cultish. Is it not?
Oh, it's completely a cult. They enshrined some of their founding members, like the Magnificent Randy. He was a magician and an ardent skeptic and debunker. The skepticism is not enough for them. They need radical skepticism. And Mick West, stated that being a skeptic wasn't enough because you can't skeptic something, but you can debunk it. Debunk. The word debunk means that they have proven that bunk was not true. Bunk in itself is a negative connotation because that indicates that somebody advanced something that they knew wasn't true to begin with. Well, science doesn't work like that. When you like with Hal Puthoff and their legitimate scientific research with other fellow scientists where they test their hypothesis. Iron sharpens iron. They have other scientists that are seeking to prove or disprove their theories. That's how science is done. But they don't allow that. Right. If it goes against their dogma, they consider it bunk, and they aren't going to allow it to be edited into Wikipedia pages or the people that say, like Hal Puthoff with his 5 peer-reviewed papers, trying to get the pseudoscience label off of his page because this is his life's work. And they had a book written by a biologist that called him a pseudoscientist. So the book stayed and his papers went. So he gave up trying to edit his page in 2017. It was very sad to read.
Right.
And if people want to see that, you can go to Hal Puthoff's Wikipedia page, go look at the Talk Page tab, and you can see up toward the top where he states that he tried to fix this. And for any students or people that were interested in learning the truth about his work, this is not the place to find it. Very heartbreaking, actually.
Yeah.
So, I found this
I actually,
page after page.
The other day I put a poll up on Twitter asking if folks still trust Wikipedia, and it was a majority no. I think people are losing. Wikipedia is losing its credibility. People are going to have to go elsewhere for their information. I remember when I went to college, that was it was in the first semester too, this professor told me Wikipedia is not scholarly. You can't use it. So
no.
I was kind of programmed then not to use them as a source because it's fallible. And I think because it's so fallible, people have taken advantage of it. Some folks have taken advantage of it to the point they're getting funding of millions of dollars to do this. And it's just, I've heard it before. I don't know who said it, but it's just un-American. Shenanigans all over this.
Good Trouble Show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Matt said that on the Good Trouble Show. They have different types of unauthentic editors. Some there are paid groups that will guarantee that they can go in and create a page for you and edit in and give you a good write up. And then there are others they found foreign governments that have been manipulating Wikipedia, which it's naive to think that our government isn't in there in some capacity as well doing this. And
Rob,
then
I got a question.
I
have a question. Worst case scenario. China is controlling our media. That's controlling. It's a big psyops. It's a foreign psyops. It's a psyops within our own government. Was that what's going on?
Yeah. They found that Russia
that's the worst case, right?
China.
So this.
What's the scenario?
How can I say this?
Resolution now.
Because it's possible through what you've discovered here. Shouldn't this be brought to, I don't know, the State Department, intelligence, what you've discovered? My opinion, you have discovered possibly, which if it's possible, they need to look into it. Our 3-letter agencies need to look into what you've possibly discovered, and they need to investigate this. This is important.
I've been told by very reputable sources that Congress is very aware of this. Congressman, Gary Nolan and Christopher Mellon, I've heard, were very upset about this when they found out, because a lot of people had bad experiences with their pages and things, but all of them thought that it was just a fluke, that they just happened to get luck of the draw of somebody had a grudge against them or something. None of them had any idea that this was not the exception to the rule, that this was the rule, not the exception. So, the guerrilla skeptics have faced public scrutiny before, and they came out because they had Jimmy Wales blessing all that. But no one has ever before shown how they are systematically defaming everyone that they disagree with on Wikipedia and off Wikipedia, because we know the identity of several Wikipedia skeptics now and editors, what their true names are, and they're editing under CSI. They're going on YouTube, Metabunk, and other platforms they use, and systematically attacking the credibility of people like David Grush, Hal Puthoff, Will Zonda, Ross Coulthart, George Knapp, Jeremy Corbell, Bob Lazar. It goes on down the list. Anybody has any prominence or attempts to gain any prominence, they go all in to make sure they don't get any traction, because they are spreading sensationalism, fringe, bunk, and pseudoscience. So they have to go, and they have to be stopped at any cost. And once they put those labels on, they have in the rules, which they helped write, they don't have to be balanced and give them a fair, equal opinion of what their narratives are. You know, if it's unpopular in the minority view, they don't have to put it in there, and they define, you know, all these categories of what's fringe and what's pseudoscience. So there again, they've rigged the system systematically. Congress is aware now, and other, you know, higher institutions like colleges, prestigious colleges and things, faculty are being made aware of this, and there are private interest groups now looking into it. So they've been scrutinized before, but like I said, I don't think it was ever identified how coordinated they were. You know, Craig Weiler, who's partnered up with me, has been at this for 13 years and has wrote the literal book about the growth skeptics. And back then, he didn't have social media to help build a base to push back on that with. So he had resigned that he couldn't change it, and wrote a book about it, and he had to wash his hands of it and get on with his life, and just accept it. He was in the parapsychology field, and he went to bat for people like Rupert Sheldrake, who was viciously attacked and discredited, and kind of was the beginning of the Infra TED Talks, because they went after him and like Graham Hancock. You know, they won't accept anything but gradualism, where, you know, 6,000 years ago we came out of caves, and life, you know, the city started Sumar. That was the rule. There was no catastrophism. We haven't had any impacts in, you know, hundreds of thousands of years. Oh, but this little thing of Göbekli Tepe came up, and then boom, 13,000. We had to double the age of known organized civilizations. So that, I'm sure that was very upsetting for them to have to concede. Now we have Gadang Padang in Indonesia, that the pyramid, the lowest part of it, is dated back to like 25,000 years before the last ice age. So that is something that they do not want to budge on either. So the ancient history, what they call alternative ancient history community, are facing the same kind of vitriol and pushback by these same skeptics, actually. And I was interviewed by a German journalist who has been viciously attacked by them, and he's reported that Germany has this problem, France, Australia, Japan. It's global.
It's a worldwide issue, right?
There are skeptics that control these topics in every country of the world, pretty much, where they go where they can get the most bang for their buck. They go with the largest nations where they can gain the most traction on the best pages to gain traction, and the best countries to get traction. And say, like in Germany, they don't attack Orthodox religion, because the Eastern Orthodox Catholics would tar and feather them into the next you know, state, you know, country. They're a little more lax here, so they can get away with a little bit more. But
right.
The days of operating in the darkness is done. They think that this will die out, and that business as usual. And, you know, we've got Lucky Louie, who is already editing today in the credulous UFO report, that, you know, they've not supplied any evidence to prove what their assertions are. I mean, they're desperate enough that they're using Wikipedia as a source now for that report.
Right.
It's not going to age well. Kirkpatrick's tenure is not going to age well. So, yeah, go ahead and edit it in there, Lucky Louie, and, you know, Joshua Schroeder and Susan Gerbic and all you other people. enjoy it while it lasts, because it's not going to last. It's not going away.
You mean things aren't cooling down?
No, it's picking up steam, and it's going to continue. Started, and we is growing by the day. And I set out at first because I recognized Lucky Louie. I recognized the speech and the dialect and the vitriol. It was quickly apparent to me that was Mick West. At first, I set out as my one goal to prove that was Mick West, and they call it done. But once I found out that this was systematic, and that he had an entire team that was going after all these different people in this entire platform, and not just ufology, but they go after any kind of homeopathic medicine, even chiropractic and acupuncture is considered quackery. And they ardently go after anyone that supports those. They ban them from the topics, and then they go after them in real life. They petition the courts. They go after their employment. They are insidious.
They're an
activist organization. And Wikipedia needs to be recognized as an activist organization, and their 501 needs looked into. Same with CFI and CSI, the Skeptical Committee for Skeptical Inquiry, and they all need. The government needs to look into it, and I think that there are editors in there that are government employees. I'll just leave it at that. I think I recognize government employees involved in this. I don't think that they are part of the skeptic group, but they go around they skirt around the perimeters with them a lot. They have a common goal: to control the narrative.
I'll take care, all right? Nothing but love for you. Nothing but love for you. You think they have any clue what's about to happen to them?
Oh, not a chance in hell. Good night.